And good Friday morning, everybody. Welcome into Morning Invest. Hey, we made it to the weekend. It's almost here. Just sort of surviving till we get to Saturday and Sunday where I can actually sleep in some more. Welcome in. I'm Clayton Morris. Philip is in the control booth today.
Good
He
morning.
is off. Good morning to you. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. I'm getting ready for the opposite kind of weekend of you. I'm going to be very, very busy this weekend.
Hmm.
Uh, I have a pool tournament that lasts all weekend, and I have three shows. I'm stage managing a play fest, and I have three performances. So I am nonstop go this weekend.
Well, crazy. That's a busy weekend. I'll be sleeping in. I'll try to be sleeping in. Although I did sleep in a little bit this morning. I couldn't believe how late I slept. Man, Tylenol PMs, they're like the greatest thing in the world when you've got COVID, you know? So we were talking, yes, I'm still recovering from COVID, although I feel pretty good today. I still can't taste anything. Still, when I get kind of winded going up and down flights of steps, which is no good, but overall, feeling like much better. But it is Hoodie Friday. I'm not getting dressed up on this Friday. You were saying you had something similar, not COVID, but you ended up having like what, a 2 months of not being able to breathe with pneumonia.
Yeah, I went from I was subluxated. This was in 2019, like mid 2019. I subluxated a rib, and then it developed into pneumonia. So I went right from like not being able to breathe because of pain to then not being able to. I couldn't talk because every time I tried to talk, I would start coughing, and they couldn't figure out what was going on. So it was like a 3 month long journey, which I did spend a week in the hospital at the end of it.
Jeez.
So that was crazy.
No bueno. Yeah, I had pneumonia for a little while. I was launching an iPhone app a number of years ago, and all the drama and stress of doing that, um, caused me to go kind of crazy. I remember that before COVID, that was like the sickest I ever felt was pneumonia. So
What's funny is I never really, I mean, other than the coughing and like the general kind of not feeling well, because I mean, I would like night sweats, I had trouble breathing, but like I was still fine to walk around. I walked myself into the hospital, and so the whole time I was in there, I was like joking around with the staff, and the nurses were like, "I can't believe you're like as well, you sound as well as you are considering how sick you are." And I'm like, I don't know, it's just what it is,
walking pneumonia,
I guess.
I guess. Yeah,
That or I'm just too stubborn to give up. I don't know.
could be. I understand that. Hey, coming up on today's show, it is Friday, September 24th. On today's show, what happens when China's economy collapses? What will the damage be in the United States? Well, you should get ready for that because there's an eeriness that's unfolding this morning as the largest real estate construction firm tied to almost every aspect of the Chinese economy just managed to not make a payment yesterday, a very important payment. And it's all kind of quiet this morning. We'll have an update for you on this Evergrande story. If you've not been following it, you need to pay attention. It could have massive implications for you and your family, tied to your retirement accounts, the U.S. economy, as if we needed another pain point in all of this craziness. Thanks, China. Now we've got this. So we'll look at that this morning. We're also going to look at the fourth stimulus update. And there's a lot of dark money in the United States that has been pushing to make sure that we do not pass a fourth stimulus bill. And some are not even dark. In fact, the United States Chamber of Commerce came out last night and made a big announcement about that. So we'll bring you up to date on where both the Fed's stimulus sits right now for Wall Street and where the reconciliation stimulus sits for you. So we'll have an update on that. We'll also look at the latest on the border crisis. Some movement down in Texas with those guys on horseback that were whipping those Haitian refugees. So we've got some movement on that, and there's just a lot of consternation in the White House right now. And there's a lot of tears. There's people quitting. It's a crap show. So that's what we've got coming up for you. And plus, we've got pet photos today. It's Pet Photo Friday. So hopefully you've sent in your pet photos, and we will feature those a little bit later in the show. So it is Friday. It's time to get uncomfortable. Morning Invest starts right now. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome into the show. Let me take this back up here. Before we get into our top story this morning, I want to tell you about our first show sponsor. These guys are fantastic. Our friends over at MeUndies. You know, you can actually have a fantastic supply, monthly subscription of underwear, new pairs of underwear sent to your door each month. You know, my wife makes fun of me because I get the boxers and stuff, and they've got holes in them. She's like, come on. She's like, how long are you going to hold on to this thing? I'm like, well, I don't know. It's bare, you know. So with the MeUndies, you don't have to worry about it. You get it on a subscription, and then when, you know, the ones start falling apart, you don't feel bad about throwing those things out because the new ones show right up at the door. You can get anything, any available sizes too. Extra small all the way up to 4XL. They're super soft, classic colors. They have all sorts of really fun, ridiculous prints also, like hot dogs and pizza and stuff like that. So you can fully express yourself in your own unique way. Really comfortable. Like, these are my favorite underwear. And our listeners are going to get 15% off and free shipping right now. You can, never leave your couch again with MeUndies membership. Monthly subscription that sends new pairs right to your door. Each month you'll choose new undies, socks, or a bralette. Philip, would you like a bralette?
I love me a good bralette.
And that's what I said to my wife. I said, is that a bra? She said, no, this is a bralette. I'm like, what's the difference? I don't know. And you pick
one of them ends in let.
That's right. Oh, yeah. I like that. You pick the style and the color or the print that feels the most for you, most fun, right? Plus, you can enjoy discounted pricing, free shipping, exclusive early access to new launches. Love your butt and get the membership. MeUndies right now. Get 15% off your first order and free shipping. Go to MeUndies.com/invest. That's MeUndies.com/invest. Hey, Christmas is coming up. Be a good gift as well. Really soft, really comfortable. You will love these. So our thanks to MeUndies for supporting the show. All right. Hey, yes, we will have your pet photos coming up a little bit later in the show. So we will get to those towards the end of the show. Again, you can always send your pet photos in because we do those on Fridays. Just email us, pets@morninginvest.com, and try to include your name and the name of the pet so we can feature those here on the show. How does that sound to you? Sound like a plan? Sounds like a plan. Just going to get my other stuff set up here, and I'll be good to go.
Excellent plan. Hey, while you're setting that up, some just housekeeping stuff. We do just members only on Friday, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So are we in members only chat now as well?
Yes.
All right, members only chat. Good. All right. So let me get to the proper thing here in the show rundown. Man, I'm telling you this COVID thing. You know, they talk about this like COVID fog. Kind of feel like that.
And they have to like think and actually like, use your brain. I can't imagine.
Mm-hmm. I talked to my best friend yesterday. In Pennsylvania, and he said, because he got COVID last year and it was really bad for him. He thought he was going to die. I'm like, hey, just like me. I thought I was going to die. And his wife actually had to take her to the hospital 3 times, stopped breathing, like it was really bad. So they both got it. But anyway, he got it, and he's like, yeah, I have my eyesight. He's like, I really can't see anymore, like since I got COVID. He's like, I can see far away, but anything up close, I can't see anything now. I was like, oh my God. I'm like, have you gone to the eye doctor? And he's like, no. He's like, I don't have insurance. He's like, I can't afford it. This is America. Like, COVID related, he's like, I haven't been to a doctor. He's like, I haven't had my blood drawn in like 40 years. He's like, I can't afford it. I don't have medical insurance. I'm like, oh my God. So like some sort of blindness now because of COVID, and he has no coverage to go get that checked. That's the United States of America right now.
Wow.
Unbelievable. All right, let's talk about this. All right, let's talk about what's going on in China. Evergrande. This is an incredibly important story to the health of the U.S. economy, your family's retirement funds, and pretty much everything else. We are an interconnected society, right? Forget the fact we're not an island, the United States. We are tightly interconnected to the global economy, the Chinese economy. And I want to start with some breaking news on this morning, on this Evergrande story, before I kind of give in and greater detail and explain what is going on with this Evergrande crisis. So Evergrande bondholders have been left in the dark. This is the very latest overnight. Evergrande bondholders left in the dark as a crucial deadline passes. And investors the reason that this is a big deal is because they were waiting on this payment. So all eyes were on what was going to happen with Evergrande to make this payment back. And this $84 million offshore coupon payment that they were supposed to be making. And there's so many people that are waiting on Evergrande to make payments to them. So investors had been sitting there saying they have not yet received a closely watched interest payment that was due on Thursday, adding uncertainty to an unfolding liquidity crisis as the world's most indebted property developer. It was an $83 million payment and had a deadline of midnight in New York on Thursday or noon on Friday in Hong Kong. The property group, which has not made a statement on the repayment, has a 30-day grace period before any failure to pay officially results in a default. So nothing, crickets, quiet, nothing's going on, no payment. This is just the tip of the iceberg. So Evergrande, which is the highly leveraged real estate company, which is in China, they've got 200,000 employees, and they're basically struggling to make payroll right now. They have 1,300 different projects going on in more than 280 cities across China. They have the largest debt burden of any publicly traded real estate company in the world. And it's particularly significant in China because it's kind of like the leading edge of the real estate boom, which comprises about 1/3 of their entire economy. Just to give you some frame of reference, in 2008 in the United States, the housing collapse that unfolded here, it could have been 10 times worse. But yet the U.S. housing sector is a smaller percentage of the U.S. GDP in manufacturing. But in China, it's 30%. It is a massive piece of their economy. It's such a huge sector. And at the same time, a huge amount of the Chinese public is actually very invested in Evergrande. Think about this for a minute. 1.5 million Chinese people have made deposits to the company waiting on a delivery of a house. So 1.5 million Chinese are like, hey, I want a bite of the middle class dream right here in China. So what I'm going to do is give a deposit for the house that you are going to build me, Evergrande, because you're the biggest. So they've made their deposits, and Evergrande can't even pay its employees. Why? Well, if you look at the company right now, itself has not even been able to barely make payroll. They've been paying out huge amounts of dividends to their shareholders. Oh, and coincidentally, their CEO has also made $5 billion from the companies alone in dividends. One of the richest men in China he is. All of this being said, and the reason why it's very significant is that Evergrande itself, both its bonds as well as its stock, is actually held by a significant number of American companies, specifically private equity guys like BlackRock. So if you think that this is just an isolated thing over there in China, you're wrong. Hundreds of banks, and institutions all over the United States, private equity, many are tied to your 401k plans or retirement plans, tied and have money or are waiting on money payments or other interest payments from this company, Evergrande. All of it is tied together. So imagine you're a Chinese family, right? You've saved up some money. You make a deposit to Evergrande. You go to one of their many locations. Here's my money. I'm putting it in this bank because, we know you're the biggest, right? You're huge. You're the biggest in China. And you're building the homes in 200 different cities across China. You have 1,700 projects currently underway, from skyscrapers to homes to buildings, everything. So I'm waiting on my home to be built. 1.5 million Chinese people probably will never have their homes built, and they will probably lose these deposits. Gone. Poof. If you think about in 2008 in the United States, when our housing market collapsed in precisely the same way. And in what way was that? Well, it was overinflated real estate values, right? Homes in the United States were wildly overinflated. And that meant that banks could package up these ridiculous loans and keep selling them and selling them and selling them, even though they were mostly worthless. People could get loans that didn't have jobs. So it was artificially inflated real estate prices. Someone could buy a $100,000 home and in a month later sell it for $120,000. That's how ridiculous things were, right? And it just kept happening. So they were able to keep doing this house of cards. And then suddenly people start to realize that these home prices are way overinflated. These appraisals are out of control. This doesn't make any sense. The values we're absolutely in a bubble. And suddenly these prices come way down. And now that house of cards, that pyramid scheme no longer works, right? You can't continue to leverage and borrow all of this money against these overinflated assets that just don't exist. They're not real. So guess what? Now all of these banks, Lehman Brothers and otherwise, can't borrow this kind of money anymore. They can't borrow this money because guess what? The asset that they're trying to borrow against is found out to be a flaw. And that's exactly what's happening with Evergrande. That all of these overinflated Hong Kong real estate prices and all throughout China, these overinflated apartment complexes and prices, they're not actually worth that much. And it's a total house of cards, a pyramid scheme. And once you're incredibly over leveraged. So this company has billions of dollars in over leveraged capital that it's continued to borrow against what? And now a lot of these companies are saying, hey, we want our money back because you were borrowing money against stuff that really wasn't valuable and we'd like our money back. Sorry, we don't have it. So in precisely the same way, China owned, back in 2008, China owned a lot of our debt, remember? So when we had the collapse in the United States, it reverberated around the world. Well, now it's the reverse. A lot of Wall Street firms own a ton of Chinese debt in Evergrande. What's going to happen if they go under? So the big question this morning is, what will the Chinese Communist Party do? Will Chinese leader Xi Jinping actually bail them out? Would set an unbelievable precedent, wouldn't it? You know, the way that the Chinese government has operated is these 3 red line strategy. Think of it sort of like American financial bank stress testing, right? But they have 3 red lines. And you are not allowed to borrow if you don't meet these 3 red lines. Well, they have failed. Evergrande has not met the 3 red lines. They have absolutely broken the law. They've broken this stress test. So now what will the government do?
Well, hasn't the government already started putting money back into the Chinese economy, try to shore it up? I mean, because they're trying to. I thought I recently read that they were dumping money into it to kind of like alleviate concerns.
Well, what the Chinese government does, because Chinese Communist Party, what they tend to do is they tend to almost take them under like state control. Where they, right, when they have these issues in the past, they sort of swoop in and in a way, they sort of roll them into another company. They sort of like take them under their wing. And they may try to do something like that this time, not really bail them out so much as kind of absorb some of this inside of state-controlled other entities. Almost I don't want to say a takeover, but in many ways, that's what it looks like. But this is massive. So if how are they going to be able to do that? To take on this much debt to shore? And what they're basically then admitting is, then yes, banks are too big to fail. Like the Chinese government has before drawn red lines saying like, no, like, that's the beauty of communism, right? Is that, no, we will not do this. And so if they draw this line, where they're going to say that we can't have this bank fail, we can't have Evergrande fail, what they're admitting is a failure of communism, right? What they're saying is basically like, well, okay, we're going to step in here and make sure everything's okay. Yes, there are banks that are too big to fail, like in the United States. U.S. banks now know that they can always be bailed out by Wall Street, right? U.S. banks are like, hey, we now know that the government is just not going to let us collapse. We're not going to have another Lehman Brothers. Government will step in. They'll pump billions of dollars. They'll take care of us. We don't have to worry about anything. No one will go to prison. It'll be all good.
I wonder what the status of all the parachutes are in China as opposed to the United States. Like when this goes, under, is it, take care of the top people first and then work your way down so that the 1.5 million people that have already put deposits, they're out of luck, but the 5% up at the top, they're gonna take what's left and run.
It's hard to say. I mean, we know that the CEO of Evergrande, $5 billion in profit. So is he going to be forced to give this back?
Yeah, that's what Richard Blackstone said in the comments was if he's worth $5 billion off of this, why doesn't he make that $84 million payment?
Right. Yeah, or the 1.5 million Chinese people who have made their deposits to get a home. Imagine, just think for a second, like as an American, like you go to Toll House Brothers or whatever builders, and you make your deposit. Like, honey, we're doing this. We're building a home. It's our first home. We're going to make that deposit. We've saved up 20 years. Here's our $70,000 down payment for Toll Brothers to build us a house next year. Here you go, Toll Brothers. And then come to find out the Toll Brothers they don't have really any plans to actually build your house. And now the money is gone. And to make matters worse, we're learning this morning in the Wall Street Journal that auditors who looked at Evergrande's viability as a company didn't see a problem. So PricewaterhouseCoopers did this. This is amazing. So PricewaterhouseCoopers did their audit of Evergrande. And in Hong Kong, it signed off on the company's 2020 financial statements. And it didn't include which is what they call a so-called going concern warning. These are red flags from an auditor that show that it has doubts about the company's ability to stay afloat for at least 12 months. It saw no problem. But in the company's financial statement for the first 6 months of this year, Evergrande's board of directors themselves on the board actually wrote a memo, expressed concern about their company's ability to pay back its short-term obligations and its ability to continue growing. That was their going concern. Like, the board itself wrote it down. The report then, which was unaudited, was one of the company's first serious admissions of its financial problems. They told everyone about this. Now Evergrande is teetering on the edge of financial collapse. It has $88.5 billion in debt burden and total liabilities in excess of $300 billion in liabilities. And one person who, you think would actually know a lot about this, and we should take him seriously, is Jim Chanos. Do you know who Jim Chanos is? If you're not familiar with Jim Chanos, he's actually the guy, the short seller, who predicted that Enron was going to collapse. I read the book, The Smartest Guys in the Room, about Enron. What a house of cards scam that was. Well, Jim Chanos, he says that the collapse of Evergrande could actually be worse than Lehman Brothers. Here's what he says. Here's what he says in the Post. He says Evergrande just happens to be one of the biggest, but the developers, all of them look like this in the Chinese property market. There's Jim. The whole Chinese property market are on the stilts, he says. You don't have to worry that it's a Lehman Brothers situation, he says, but a Lehman type situation. But in many ways, it's worse than Lehman Brothers, he says. And he says, expect this to reverberate around the world. In many ways, you don't have to worry that it's a Lehman type situation. But in many others, it's far worse because it's symptomatic of the whole economic model and the debt that's behind the economic model. That apparently Evergrande is just one of many structured just like this. And multiple other Evergrandes exist, 2, 3, 4 of them that are just as large. And Evergrande's the biggest, but there are a few others that are quite as big. And they all operate the same way on this overinflated prices, overinflated housing prices, over-leveraged debt with really no obligation to build and a whole house of cards that's about to come crumbling down, and 30% of the Chinese economy. So this is going to be an absolute disaster. And this all and I don't understand. I mean, this all started happening last year, and they were really trying to. Even the president of China, Xi Jinping, was saying it last year. We want to stop the reliance on debt to fuel our expansion. And if you think about all of this talk about the Chinese economy, it's the biggest in the. It's going to be about to become the biggest in the world, and it's all built on a house. It's all built on a sham. It's all built on a scam. Overinflated housing prices. Being able to borrow all of this debt from around the world. And these properties are not worth what they're pretending to be. And you have an entire continent, basically, that is sitting on this faulty accounting. You don't think you're going to feel this at home? You don't think you're going to feel this here, in the United States in your 401k? It's a crap show just waiting to happen. So please be careful. I mean, look, if you're invested in things like BlackRock, or I would seriously call your financial advisor, look at your 401k. If you've got a retirement plan, look at the different funds that you might be investing in today, things that might be tied. A lot of these firms have debt obligations with Evergrande. You might, on the surface, you might not think that you have any ties to it at all. But I'd be asking questions, because what if they don't get those payments made back? That is a direct hit on you. So many people's pensions and otherwise also connected to this. All of this is, very, very troubling. So please heed this warning. But I got to say, it's pretty weird. It's kind of eerie. There was where's this article I saw this morning? It says it's kind of eerie. This deadline passes, and there's just nothing. There's no. It's all sort of. They passed this deadline without making this thing, and it's very eerie. I think the UK Mail today said that they're surprised. It's just sort of, it's like eerie quiet. Like, what's going on? They've missed this payment, and no one's saying anything. Like, the company's not saying anything. There's no message from Evergrande. It's they're all sort of quiet. It's just like the calm before the storm. What I don't get is that the U.S. stock market yesterday just took off nicely. They're like, Evergrande, this is going to be like an isolated little bubble situation. Shouldn't be a big deal. I think we're good to go. And just bounces back just fine yesterday. Not a surprise.
I think the reality is, though, for people in Wall Street, it will be fine. And that's the problem. I mean, because there was no real repercussions in 2008. Like nothing was felt by that top percent. It was there's all the people that lost their life savings, their 401ks, they lost everything, all their retirement. And so it's like, yeah, if you look at it like that, they're not looking at it like this is really bad for people. They're like, this is really bad for Wall Street. Then they would panic. But if it's looking good for Wall Street, it is good. It is fine for them.
Yeah. Yeah. They're like, oh, okay, well, I guess, looks like the Chinese president is going to step in all of this. That's fine. But earlier in the week, stocks were down. And then as the week is going on now, it's like, hey, you got over it. Like, we're good to go, I guess. So we'll talk more about that. And we'll also talk about the Fed stimulus in just a moment, because, the Fed provided some soothing words yesterday, which also sent stocks up. So we'll look at the overall stimulus play and what the Federal Reserve plans to do here in a moment. But I do want to tell you about our next show sponsor, our friends at UE Fits. Ultimate ears. We were talking about David's ears. He says he's got one, like, never really fits. He's got stuff that, can't really fit earbuds in properly. And I know a lot of people that when you buy the sort of the regular earbuds, the types, we won't mention any names, but they try to make it like it's a one size fits all. And that's the problem. Everyone's ears are different, right? And a lot of people just can't wear those other ones because they just don't fit. That's where Ultimate Ears comes in. What they do is they send you a package and you put the molding in your ear, okay? And it uses this light form technology. And after about 60 seconds, it forms to your ear. And a little light appears, lets you know that it's done. It feels warm. And then it's done. And then it hardens so that it's perfectly in that shape of your ear forever. Not anyone else's ear, but your ears. You know, like I even know some people that have like ear hole sizes that are, I mean, let me know in the chat, how many of you guys have like ear, like one ear is like slightly different than the other, right? That's how it is. And that's how this works. Ultimate Ears, the molding experience is amazing. The fit, you know, when you try the fit, it's unlike anything you've ever tried before because it's perfect for your head. You get a guaranteed perfect fit in 60 seconds. It'll stay put when you're on the go. You'll feel ultra comfortable so you can wear them all day long without pain or discomfort. The sound quality is fantastic, engineered to provide a full warm sound with a tight, punchy low end. You can set custom EQ presets right through the app. Plus, you'll get free shipping, free returns, and a 1-year warranty. Ultimate Ear offers also a 30-day money-back guarantee. You've got to try them out. They're really fantastic. You can wear them all day long without pain or discomfort. For a limited time, get 15% off your pair of Ultimate Ears Fits True Wireless Earbuds at ue.com/fits. ue.com/fits and use the code INVEST at checkout. That's 15% off with promo code INVEST at ue.com/fits. Our thanks for their support of the show. All right. Coming up a little bit later, we're going to have your pet photos. We'll do some super chats on this Friday. Thanks, everyone, for sticking with me here as I muscle through with this fun time of COVID. This COVID is not it's not good. I saw a guy yesterday who was 24 years old, went into the hospital in Montana. And he was like really anti-vaccine and so forth, and he called the local news station, and because he was on a ventilator, and he's like, I've absolutely changed my mind, and I was buying all the conspiracy theories about everything, and he's like, this is the worst. He's like, if I could get the V right now, I would. So please go get it. He was 24. He has a new son, and then at the end of the news report, they said that he had passed away this weekend. Young guy, 24 years old. And the nurse who was at the station, she was like happy to do it, but she's like, I've been here 30 years. And she's like, I just, sometimes I don't think I can even get out of bed in the morning anymore because we're just so overwhelmed and people will just not listen, And so it's just so tragic. It's, and United States right now hitting like all new records and brother. Anyway. All right, let's talk about what's happening in the stimulus world. So there's two fronts right now in the battle over the stimulus. On the one side, of course, we have the Federal Reserve side of things, which pumps money to Wall Street so they can continue to borrow and stay liquid and funnel money out to mortgages and all of that sort of stuff, right? And then, of course, the other side is really the side of the stimulus that I care the most about, which is the American people and people being able to get checks and child tax credits and be able to pay their medical bills and not be kicked out of their homes and the stimulus that's tied to that, which is really the reconciliation part of this entire process. Well, yesterday it was kind of weird. I don't know if you guys saw this, but Chuck Schumer essentially walked out during a press conference. Nancy Pelosi was there, and he kind of came out and he basically said one sentence. He walked out of the room and he said, the White House and the House and the Senate have now reached an agreement on a framework that will pay for any final negotiation in the stimulus. Wow. Okay. And then he basically walked out. It's like a really bizarre thing. I was like, thanks for stopping by, Chuck. Well, this is a big news, right? It seems like it would be big news. It would mean that the White House and the Capitol had now solved one of the biggest difficult issues, which is how we're going to pay for President Biden's agenda. But not so fast, because here's what we now know about this. Essentially, it appears as if the White House and the Hill Democrats have agreed on a menu of revenue options, but they actually haven't chosen exactly how they will do it. So they've created the menu, and now they can choose from this menu once they decide the spending side of things. Sources are saying it's basically the bill that passed the Ways and Means Committee. So Schumer went to a group of reporters a little bit later, and he said it's a menu of options that the House and the Senate and the president agree on, and it will have ample pay-fors to pay for whatever final agreement we come to. It's a menu of options, and it will pay for whatever the agreement on the investment comes to. That's what he says. And then, of course, on the other side of this, we'll get more back to the reconciliation piece in just a second, because that's the really interesting piece and how it could affect you. But the Fed side of this, the U.S. Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, says it could start tapering its bond buying program as early as November. What does that mean? Well, we've been buying up, spending $150 billion a month has been going to Wall Street to buy up all of these like mortgage-backed securities, corporate junk bonds, all of the crap that Wall Street doesn't want to touch or has involved themselves in it and has no way of making good on those payments. So the Federal Reserve swoops in basically and buys it up. Isn't it nice? It's like having, you make a mess and it's just like having someone clean up after you constantly. That's what it is, basically. And that's the Federal Reserve. So we've all been wondering, like, how in the world are you continuing to still funnel money to Wall Street? They've been doing fine. Why are they getting $150 billion a month and the American people get scraps, get peanuts? And initially, Fed Chief Jerome Powell, the Fed, had said that they would continue this stimulus unabated and usually about until 2023. How could they afford this? Well, now, according to reports, they are considering starting the tapering, which is the drawing down of the amount of money they're buying and paying towards Wall Street, starting in November. And Wall Street initially felt a little uneasy about that. But I guess they had one day and they're like, you know what? No, we feel pretty good about this. Okay, we're good. And stocks shot up again. 600 points. Good news. So they got their money, I guess. They're all good to go. The Fed is now going to start to pull back on some of its spending against Wall Street. But what about you? What about the money that's supposed to go to you? Well, we now know, according to different reports, that I brought this story to you a few months ago about how there's a number of big money groups that have been soliciting the likes of Kyrsten Sinema, Joe Manchin, and other moderate Democrats and Republicans, basically begging them to kill the reconciliation bill because they think they will be hurt by it. You have groups like Walmart. Walmart's been pushing against this. All sorts of big companies have been pushing against the reconciliation bill. They don't want to pay more in taxes. Amazon, Jeff Bezos, been pushing against this. They don't pay anything in taxes, so the thought that they might actually be forced to pay a little bit in taxes was scary to them. Well, we now know that there's a lot of this dark money that is floating around out there. And according to The Intercept, this dark money groups going to these donors are basically saying, and No Labels is specifically the group, that this can still be killed. And they're praising Kyrsten Sinema for her heroic efforts in basically killing the infrastructure bill. The dark money group, No Labels, remains optimistic that it has been unable to de-link the bipartisan infrastructure bill away from the larger reconciliation package that includes the bulk of the Biden agenda, with the possibility of outright killing the bigger bill that's still in play, according to a note sent by the group's senior executive director to its donors. Quote, "It's now clear that the reconciliation package will be de-linked in time from the infrastructure bill and will be less than $3.5 trillion if it passes at all. In theory, making support from House Republicans for the infrastructure bill more likely." And it goes on to praise Arizona Democratic Senator Kyrsten Sinema. So basically, even though it hasn't been de-linked yet, these dark money groups apparently know something that we don't. They're already confident that this bill is not going to be $3.5 trillion. And they are confident that it will be decoupled from the infrastructure package. The very thing that progressives said they demanded that it be connected. Because they know if it's not connected, it's unlikely they might even get a vote on it. The reconciliation package, which they're crying about, includes major investments in climate change, child care, elder care, expansion of Medicaid, Medicare, almost a ton of other policy advantages, and a lot of huge donors to no labels stand to see significant tax hikes to offset some of the costs of the reconciliation package. The House Ways and Means Committee approved $2.9 trillion in new taxes on the rich over the next decade. So this dark money is working to make sure that no additional stimulus checks go out. And they want it way less, and they don't want to pay any taxes. And they're basically funneling all of this money, these big donors, to people like Joe Manchin, Kyrsten Sinema, in an effort to make sure that this doesn't happen. Are we surprised by any of this? Progressives have said that the both packages go together so that centrists don't notch a victory on the bipartisan bill and then just turn around and kill the other part of the bill, which what would happen. So progressives learned their lesson last time in March of 2020 when everyone got together and passed that huge Wall Street bailout back package, and then the American people were left holding the bag. And they were promised that they would get to that later. They never did. They never did. But Wall Street got its money, so here we go again. Fool me once, right? And that's exactly what happened. They learned that lesson. So we're going to make sure that these two are linked together. Well, now this dark money saying, no, this is all going to come apart. We're going to break this into smaller chunks. Don't have to worry about it. And we're going to continue to funnel money to these susceptible Democrats who are going to throw the American people under the bus. Surprise, surprise. Surprise, surprise. And go ahead.
I was just gonna say, sorry, it doesn't matter, to that dark money, those people behind all that. It doesn't matter if it's Kyrsten Sinema or Joe Manchin. If the people rise up and vote those people out, they'll take care of their own, and they'll just put somebody else back in there. It's never going to change. And
right.
What kind of pisses me off is if you got everybody, the bottom 90% of the United States, all joined together, we're going to form our own super PAC, we still wouldn't have enough money to outspend the people behind all this.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to beat Walmart. You're going to beat Amazon with the deep pockets that they have. Really? Are you going to, that's the thing. And they just have an endless supply. That's, it's the same way like Wall Street, when you look at you want to become like a day trader, you want to start making some money in the stock market. You think you're going to beat a market manipulator? You're going to beat these guys that have an endless purse to do whatever they want to do to manipulate a stock? You think you're going to beat it? Sitting in your house with your little computer, your little laptop? It's not going to happen.
If you look at what's been going on with the GameStop, where the regulators keep kind of pushing the sort of borrow limit so that because I'm going to do a really poor job of explaining this, but it was there's kind of a capped borrow limit on these stocks for GameStop, and they keep moving the goalposts so that these hedge funds don't have to pay it back. And so because they have all these retail investors that just won't sell.
Right.
But they'll just keep changing the rules.
They'll just keep moving the goalposts. Yeah, because you have these retail investors that are like, you know what? Our thing is we're going to hold forever. We're holding this stock forever. Yeah, until it's worthless. And then you lost all of this money. All of this money down the tubes. Yeah, it's just.
Sorry, that was a tangent on my part, but
no, it's absolutely right, and they'll continue to do this. And if you look at this, you look at what the U.S. Chamber of Commerce is doing. I mean, here's this story today from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce that the Dems' $3.5 trillion reconciliation package poses an existential threat to the U.S. economy. Yeah, okay. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce is the largest lobbying group in the country. It rolled out it spent six figures on an ad campaign targeting moderate Democrats from 5 districts, urging their voters to reject higher taxes for businesses. The group targeting 5 Democrats paid for advertising on Wednesday, urging voters in those districts to tell their representatives to reject higher taxes, specifically for those big businesses that have made money hand over fist. So you mean we can't help pay for things that are going to help the American people? With taxes on the wealthy? Going after these people? These are some of the representatives who were targeted. Reps Cindy Axne, Josh Hardner, Democrats, U.S. Chamber of Commerce ads that have gone after them. I mean, that's what they're spending money on. 6 figures they spent money on. Suzanne Clark, president of this U.S. Chamber of Commerce. So in an effort to stop this. So it'll, raising this corporate tax rate. So, will we end up seeing higher taxes for businesses? Maybe a little. But, I got news for you. Wall Street seems okay with it. Wall Street seems okay with both the tapering side and, on the tapering side, they seem fine with what's going on in China. They really don't care. They've already, before President Biden was even inaugurated, they were aware and okay with some corporate taxes being raised. A lot of their forecasts have already baked that into it. That was a reality of Biden becoming president. A lot of their forecasting includes higher taxes. They've already swallowed that pill. They're fine with it. And by the way, they're hitting records on the S&P 500 like week after week after week. But, American people can suffer. So we'll keep our eye on this. We're quickly approaching this sort of September 27th deadline on voting on everything. So we've got a 27th next week to see if we're going to get a vote on the infrastructure piece of this. And then where do we sit with the $3.5 trillion in the reconciliation? We'll see. Good news, though, from Chuck Schumer that they have a menu of options for pay-fors now. We'll see where these moderate Democrats, though, come down. Will they be strong-armed by the Chamber of Commerce and this dark money? Or will they stand firm and do something for the American people? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think they'll do? We have more to get to here on the show. I want to get to up on the rundown here. We've got the border crisis. We'll get to your pet photos and some super chats here in a minute. But first, let me tell you about our friends over at Babbel. When you're traveling to a destination or you're thinking about taking a trip internationally and you don't know the language at all, it can be challenging to even accomplish like something simple like I need to go to the bathroom, or where's the restaurant, where's the hotel, and it could be you just feel like I didn't have the words really to say anything when we went to Italy recently, and I just felt like a fish out of water, I wish I would have. It was a spur of the moment trip for my wife's birthday, and I wish that I would have gotten my Babbel app out and actually practiced. But I was working, and it was kind of crazy, and so I'm kicking myself for not doing it. But Babbel has 15-minute classes, and it makes it perfect for you to learn on a language on the go. Other language learning apps use AI for their lesson plans, but Babbel lessons were created by over 100 language experts. In Babbel, you can choose from 14 different languages, including Spanish, French, Italian, German, Portuguese, and it's fantastic. They've got the number one selling language app right through the phone that you can do these bite-sized language lessons you can use in the real world, from greetings to menu items, directions, or just gaining a deeper understanding of the culture. There's so many ways to learn with Babbel. In addition to lessons, you can access podcasts, games, videos, stories, even live classes. You can start learning your language today with Babbel. All you need to do, when you purchase a 3-month Babbel subscription, you'll get an additional 3 months for free. That's 6 months for the price of 3. Just go to Babbel.com, use promo code INVEST. That's BABBEL.com, code INVEST. Babbel, language for life. So thanks to Babbel for their support of the show. Kate T, thank you for your super chats. Says, Clayton, how's your son doing with his recovery? Good. Yeah, he had COVID as well. Their kids are way more resilient, stronger. He still has a cough, but he's doing much better than I was. I was out. I was the worst in the family, easily. So he was doing much better. Where's Grover? Somebody's asking. Grover's in his spot. Last night he was howling at the moon for like an hour. And I finally went down, I opened the door and I let him out. I'm like, are you yelling at a cat or what are you doing, man? And he ran down and he's like, bar, bar, bar. And then he's like, all right, there's nothing here. Okay, I'm going to go over here in this corner and Barbara. And then he ran back, came back in. I'm like, okay, you good now, man? You good? And then he just started barking like crazy for another hour. And I just was like, all right, I'm going to bed, buddy. That's what you're going to do.
I think he's upset about Evergrande not making their $84 million payment.
Yeah. He's like, I know something's up with that Chinese over-leveraged real estate company. He's a very perceptive dog, yeah.
He could smell that negative $84 million in the Chinese economy.
He knows all about it. Art says, Clayton, is that where you got COVID in Italy? I don't think so, because it was the number of weeks before I got symptoms. It was a number of weeks after that I got symptoms. So I don't think so. But who knows? I mean, that's the thing. You could always try to pinpoint it to some place. So you can be like, it could have come as innocuously as like a doorknob somewhere, at a store. You have no idea,
Yeah, even if you were like at something that turned out to be like a super spreader event, you don't know if you had it before and you were the one that started it, or if you just had, it's like
right.
It's just you can't know, you can't see them.
You just don't know. Can't see those little COVID critters, can you? Or smoke them out of their hole, those little COVID critters. Oh man. Joe says, I think I have COVID. I'm so scared. Joe, get tested, man. Don't leave that to chance. And do a proper test. In Europe, they have the home tests, you can get them for like €1. So we have like a whole basket. We have like a basket, like it's like going to grandma's house. And you get the Werther's Originals, it's like a basket of like COVID tests. Like, here, kids, would you like, because they're so cheap, you can do the nose swab thing and it has a thing. But anyway, I don't know how that is in the US, but go get it tested. That's not something to leave to chance, Yeah. Oh, Joe, you are waiting on the results. Okay, good. Well, our thoughts are with you. Yeah. In Portugal, they just released a last round of restrictions because now almost 85% of the country is now vaxxed. And the deaths have way plummeted because of that. So they've reduced like the last round of restrictions, which is good. So they finally got a good handle on things. I do have a little bit of a hard time breathing. Yeah, Janet, I do. Yeah. Like going up and down the steps, like I'll be a little winded, but yesterday I would take a deep breath and I would cough. You hit that wall, like you have pneumonia, you're like, but now I'm a little bit better, like where I don't, okay, no cough, like I'm hitting that wall. It's not as bad. So anyway, all right, we've got more news to get to here today. I want to talk about this border crisis. It's been a disaster. If you've been paying attention to what's happening at the U.S. southern border, the U.S. Border Patrol says it will now temporarily suspend the use of agents on horseback to round up Haitian immigrants after And I love that they only do this after these images go viral. Do you catch these images yesterday, Philip? I mean, do you see these things? Like
Bits of it. I actually had a really busy day yesterday, so I didn't catch most of it. I wasn't.
Well, good for you that you didn't have to see this stuff. But these guys, riding around on horseback, smacking people in the head with the reins of their horse, these leather reins that you use to go around. So they're smacking people with these things and slashing them and trying to drive them out of this area. And this is, because it gets on the news, because then it shows up on the news, then that's, of course, why they stopped doing it. So now they're not going to be using horses to go over and slash these immigrants. After the public found these images so outrageous. Some agents have been put on leave as a result of it. And it's like, you can see them on their faces too. And they're all, these guys in power like this, they're all zipping around. And they get into like this boys club where they're super happy. Like, hey, I'm up on a horse. This is a lot of fun. I just get to whip these people. Just disgusting. White House press secretary.
I'm honestly surprised he's not up there on that horseback pepper spraying that dude right in the face.
Yeah. No, it's more fun for them to just like get the lassos out and slash people.
Well, you could still hit people with your reins after you pepper sprayed them. I mean, it's just unbelievable that I'm joking and you wouldn't know it.
Right, right. But this crisis is out of control as thousands of Haitian refugees coming from Central and South America, and not a lot of them actually coming from Haiti. A lot of them had already moved years ago away from Haiti, trying to find some semblance of a better life from a country that has absolutely collapsed. You've got, after a 7.2 earthquake levels the country, after American-trained Colombian assassinators kill the president of the country, trained by the U.S., we have no culpability of it. By the way, 4 months ago, we declared that Haiti was like on a special list, like where you just do not send people. What changed in 4 months? I got an answer for you. Nothing. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki told reporters that the Biden administration has taken very specific actions, very specific, as it relates to those horrific photos and these videos here. You can see them here. These are the images showing the agents whipping those up to round up refugees who have escaped Haiti because of the total collapse of their government. Many have been flown back. Look at this. He's like, I'm going to chase after you. I got my whips. Here we go. Many have been, sent back. Many are calling for that to stop too, but the administration has not commented on that part of it. Like, you're going to send people back to assist a government that doesn't exist. You're sending people back. Well, is the answer then just to keep them here in the United States? I'm not saying that at all. What I said yesterday, of course, is that we need to put resources and funds so that this judicial backlog doesn't sit there for months and months and months or years before any sort of legal process can unfold. We can spend billions of dollars. I don't know if you saw the story today where we're literally funding $1 billion for Israel to build an Iron Dome, to shore up their Iron Dome missile defense program. We just approved $1 billion for Israel's missile defense system. We are paying for that. And yet we can't spend any money on judges and a process at the border to make sure that we can process and properly get people where they need to go, back home, or legal entrance under visa programs, etc. It's a total crap show. And apparently, now in the White House, there's people crying and leaving and quitting. We have a special designee for the Haitian government quit yesterday as a result, saying that they're ready to leave, don't want to be a part of this anymore, that it's an absolute disaster to work in this government. This is really a make or break moment for the Biden administration, and you have all of these people saying, This is not the government that I signed up to work for. the people that signed up to be a part of the Biden administration when he declared that he would be a more humane president for immigration. And yet he's literally using the exact same law, the Title 42 law that the Trump administration created under health violations to kick people out of the country with rapid pace, throwing them on airplanes and getting them out of here, which Kamala Harris has specifically said is unconstitutional and that she would have absolutely no part of it. And now she's a part of it, and Biden has done 2 times as many deportations as Trump. But nothing fundamentally changes. So this hypocrisy, so these people who are working for the Biden administration in the White House saying, I didn't sign up for this. We're supposed to be open arms. We're supposed to help people. And I'm not saying you let everyone in. Like we are a nation of laws, right? Through a process. Like, can we have a process that doesn't take 3 years and then people sit in cages for 3 years? And now the talk, of course, of opening up Guantanamo Bay so that these people can have a place to live temporarily. We're going to take them to Cuba in a military facility
where the media is not allowed to go. By the way,
Right.
isn't that what Australia's doing or had been doing with their sort of like refugee island?
Yeah, get them as far away. That's the thing at the end of the day, like these administrations, they just don't like the fact that you can see it with cameras, right? Like if there's cameras, that's the problem. Once the cameras are there, then it becomes a problem. And, that's why we weren't hearing much about this until we started seeing images like this, thousands of people in tent cities underneath overpasses and crossing the border like this. Few porta potties, people being whipped. Like this is happening. We all try to live in our cloistered environments until it shows up on your back door. 100-degree temperatures, children sleeping on dusty ground in a pandemic, no less. And almost none of the Haitians are vaccinated. They don't have any infrastructure to disperse vaccinations.
I mean, I see a lot of people in the comments kind of talking about we can't afford to take these people in. Actually, we can. We absolutely 100% can. If you look at our military budget, all of these things where we're putting all of this money so that just a few people get all of this from it. There's not a problem of resources here. It's that we just don't want to.
Right. It's a matter of marshaling those resources. You mean to tell me we can't help a few thousand Haitian refugees? This is our solution. We can employ this guy to whip the guy in the head. We're paying him to do that. Imagine if we actually had a system that could help process and take care of people.
I mean, the amount of food we throw away. Just you take any major city, even a medium-sized city in the United States, the food that just gets thrown away, perfectly good food that gets thrown away, would be more than enough to feed all the people coming here. But it is. It's we don't want to do that. That's not our system. We don't help people. Our system is just funnel money up. It's all that trickle down economics. Put all the money at the top. Everything we can.
And you think about, it's a great point. And you think about these poor people who, and I'm saying they're coming here just because their government has collapsed. They have nothing, right? So the argument is, well, they're going to come here and take our jobs, right? I love that argument. No, sorry, doesn't happen. Ask any large business owner, especially in California, that relies on the H-1B2 visas, or H-1B visas and all that, right, for work. These jobs are not wanted by Americans. They simply are not. To count grapes, to pick strawberries in fields in California summer heat, Americans don't do those jobs. And businesses rely on that labor force and seasonality and those seasonal employees to come from Honduras and other areas year after year after year. And so imagine all of those companies right now that could benefit from having labor. Think about how all of these jobs are still not being filled, right? I mean, low wage labor. Think about that. You don't mean to tell me that some of these businesses would not love to have like Haitian immigrants that are able to work for their businesses, where we have all these Americans that are saying, I'm tired of being paid $7.25 an hour. I mean, they have nothing. At this point, they might be able to make $15 an hour, $12 an hour, which was far better than they were doing in Haiti. But on top of that, forget just like the labor shortage in the United States or the pay shortage in the United States and all these people down there. We spend billions of dollars wasting, bombing other countries. Like I just mentioned, we're spending $1 billion making sure that the Israelis have an Iron Dome missile defense system. So we can send $1 billion to them to make sure they can shoot missiles out of the sky. But yet we can't put some more money towards judges and a judicial process to get these people processed properly. And maybe they can get a temporary visa, temporary working visa to stay in the United States, get out of this horrific environment that they've come from, pay taxes, get a job. Yes, they're an immigrant. They're here on a visa, on a working visa, etc. Put some more money towards judicial process. We absolutely can afford that instead of spending $750 billion a year. Where there's a will, there's a way. There's just no money in it. There's no money in it for government. There's not really a political will because it just looks bad on camera. And so they run away from it. But, that whole Iron Dome thing really chaps my ass, I got to say. So we covered that in the newsletter this morning. And you mean I spoke to my Israeli friends, some of which who worked in the government in Israel, worked for Benjamin Netanyahu, like very high up in the government. And I said, how are things going there? And he said, it's fine. He's like, we had, of course, the missiles that were, back over the past few months where they had the attacks and so forth. He's like, man, our Iron Dome, just works flawlessly. He's like, we go through like a period at night where it's like, you hear the sirens and you see the missiles and we're out on our balconies watching the Iron Dome missiles are shooting these things down and boom, boom, boom. And it works flawlessly. He's like, and then the next morning, he's like, I know this is crazy. He's like the next morning we go to the cafes and we have normal day and we don't even think about it, And he's like, for other countries, that would be like life-changing. Can you imagine in America if like, ba-boom, ba-boom, and then like, we'd be talking about it for years. It'd be like 9/11, And he's like, yeah, we just go back to our normal, because the Iron Dome, he goes, it's so good. That was like 4 months ago. So now we're spending $1 billion to do what with the Iron Dome? To make it even better? Okay, so let's let the American taxpayers foot the bill for this stuff in other countries, so we can shore up and make sure that you guys have all the weapons you need. We don't have money to help people. Give me a break.
Well, the thing is, like, so you see this argument a lot. The whole like we should be taking care of America first. So like a thought experiment would be like, let's say we closed the borders off 100%, brought all the troops home. We're just 100% working on America. Is there anything we've seen from Wall Street, from corporations, that top 1%, or our government that makes us think any of them want a utopian America? That any of them would be like, okay, now we've closed everything off, let's bring the bottom up. No, there's nothing that I've ever seen that makes me think that's what they would want to do. It would still be the exact same thing. Our homelessness problem would still be there. Even if we were taking America first, that's not what that means to them. It's not the rising tide brings up all ships. They don't want it that way.
It's also a joke, this idea that just because you physically close the borders and you pretend that we are an island, we are not. Our economies are incredibly interconnected with the rest of the world. So yes, you want to close the border down. That's fine. That's one thing. But then that means that you want to bring, like, forget any international investment, forget trade. Like, let's close everything off then, right? Let's stop lending money to China. Let's stop borrowing money from China. Let's stop giving money to Israel. Let's stop borrowing money from Israel. All of it. Just all of it. Let's just literally pretend like no other country exists. How long do you think we'll last? So you can't like pick and choose, you can't like pick and choose what you decide to close down. So you can close down the border physically, but our financial system is inextricably linked to the rest of the world. So that's not going to change.
Shut it down and then shut it down and live without coffee. That right there would bring America to its knees.
No sugar, no coffee, no bananas, No imports of any kind. No more cheap televisions. No more cheap computers. Right?
Rare earth metals.
Yeah. Think about all of the things that you rely. No more blood diamonds for your women. To get your your diamond rings or whatever. All of that stuff. All of it gone. It's just not going to happen. So anyway, but that we continue like this. I mean, this is a real problem for the Biden administration right now. And, you just don't see, the thing is, you're not going to see like a lot of coverage of this on the mainstream media. You're starting to see more and more of it. But even if you like go to CNN, you're not going to see much coverage of this. Like literally at CNN.com right now. I mean, there's almost no coverage of what's going on at the border. CNN, the Biden channel. Look at this, nothing. Greta Thunberg, China, or climate change in Berlin. Good. Almost no coverage. They do have, she got a cosmetic lawsuit here for $50 million. Like, that's an important story. Chris Pratt is going to play Mario in the new Super Mario Brothers movie. And why you should put down a hot dog and reach for a handful of peanuts instead. But no coverage of the border. No coverage of the border. What's going on there? So this is, the Biden administration has an absolute catastrophe on its hands right now, and we'll see what they do. We'll see what they do. Let me know in the comments what you think should happen down there. All right. All right, it is Pet Photo Friday.
Nice. Yeah, Kristen Swenson with that Danish.
What'd she say?
Danish dungeon. And she's like, that's important.
A Danish dungeon.
That was in whatever that article you had up there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a mess. Let's see here. I'm trying to get up the pet photos. Remember, you guys can send us your pet photos by going to just emailing us, pets@morninginvest.com.
Yeah, Derek, the music was off for a while. That's why you didn't hear it. We just turned it on for this part. I guess you guys usually run it the whole time, don't you? I don't even hear it anymore.
Yeah, I kind of put it up there. A little energy. All right, here's some pet photos today. Here's Archer from Shane Jowett. That's a great photo. What kind of outfit is that, Shane? Is Shane watching today?
It looks like is there a cable coming out of it?
Yeah, he's got like a little he's got like a zip line outfit on, like he does zip lining?
Looks like he's been assimilated by the Borg with that thing coming out of the back.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. Here's Ava driving her pet chicken.
That's awesome.
That's hilarious. Ava, that's like my Ava. I bet my Ava would drive a pet chicken around. From Cynthia Ann. My Ava asked once if you put a chicken on a leash. Oh, that's a cute dog. Best support dog ever from Sherilyn Neely. So cute. Birdie and Cooper from Lorraine Wirtz.
That just
Birdie
looks like trouble.
Cooper. Yeah. Birdie and Cooper. Trouble. That sounds like a buddy cop movie.
Yeah.
Birdie and Cooper on the scene. Birdie and Cooper fighting crime. Here's Buddy. Crazy Dobby adolescent from Steve Marsden. Thank you for sending Buddy. Buddy sticking his tongue out on this Friday. Thanks, Buddy. Cute. This is Candace Cox sent in Lily Bean. Lily Bean. Hey, did you guys catch the newsletter today? We've got our daily newsletter and at morninginvest.com. If you go to morninginvest.com and sign up, it's a great newsletter right there on your screen. Go and grab it. And it was Friday, and one of the things we featured Friday today was the underwater photos competition. Did you see that? There were some amazing photos in this underwater photos competition. This one shark photo was off the charts. It almost looked like a cartoon. It was so good. I got to check that out in the newsletter.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and check them out. I skimmed the newsletter this morning, but I was getting ready to, go live.
Here's Finn chewing on a piece of wood, it looks like. It's like Mike Grover, who loves doing that. Pretty backyard there. I love the lighting, by the way. Chase and Leah Oldham sent this one in. Thank you so much. Cute photo there. Here's Duchess and Paisley in Chattanooga, Tennessee from Guys Wells. Is one of them sleeping on the other one?
Oh, most likely.
Yeah. Duchess and Paisley. Cute.
Oh, there you go.
There's another one that's sleeping on another one. It's Is it Malky or Malachi? Malchi. Gus. There's two of them. Wait, so Gus, 1-year-old. Oh, Malky. Is that a type of dog, I guess? And Dixie is 3 years old terrier mix. Gus, 1-year-old Malky. What kind of a dog is a Malky? Does anybody know in our chat? What is a Malky? Malchi. Malky. Gus is a 1-year-old Malky, and Dixie's a 3-year-old terrier mix. Both are rescue dogs from Donna Thorne. Donna Thom?
Well, I just typed Malky into Google, and I don't like the result that came back, so I'm just not even going to read that out. It didn't have to do with dogs.
Here's Jackson from Kristen Swenson. Smiling. Chilling out by the... Is Jackson hanging out like by an air conditioner? Summer heat? Oh, no, by the window. Looks like it's stormy or something, like sitting out by the window. Getting a little breeze.
Swenson said a Malky is a hybrid breed that combines the genes of the Maltese and the Chihuahua. Oh, see, I spelled it wrong in Google, so I used a Y and it came up something completely different. So there we go. That makes sense.
Kristen said, "My Jackson." Yeah, he's in the window. Was he? Yeah, looked like was he there for like in a storm or something? Looks like some water on the window, on the screens. Yeah. You know what's weird here in Portugal? Like we don't have any screens. It's just like because there's. It really never rains, so I don't know. And there's not a lot of like bugs too. So you just like open the windows and there's no, you just don't deal with like a lot of bugs and stuff. It's weird. So I grew up having screens. You don't have screens?
I don't have screens, but it's more because my landlord didn't supply them and I'm not gonna.
Mr. Bojangles from Maryland sent this one in. Mr. Bojangles. Is that like Mr. Bojangles' normal outfit? Like every day? Like wears jeans and a sheriff's badge? That's hilarious.
Just picnicking all day.
Yeah. My name's Chris and this is Jake. Jake is waving to us. Hi, Jake. Cute doggy. Yeah. My name is Link from Alcantara. Link. I like Link. That's a good name. Link. Like Link from Zelda. Yeah. Shannon says, Clayton, did your family need to learn Portuguese? Didn't need to. I mean, the kids in their school, they learn it every day and they're excellent at it now. We've been here a couple of years and their kids can... I'm on my third year now of learning, so I'm in the B level classes. Doing pretty well. My wife can speak really well because she knew Spanish, so it's close. But you know, Portuguese are very protective of their language to say that it's not Spanish at all. But if you learn Portuguese, you get Spanish for free. That's the joke. But if you learn Spanish, you don't get Portuguese for free. Like it's, you still have to. There's a lot of differences.
That's interesting because Portuguese is still a Romance language, right?
Yeah. Portuguese is a Romance language, and of course, you know, there's European Portuguese, and then of course there's the Brazilian Portuguese. So I studied the European Portuguese, which is the original, of course.
Yeah, I have a friend that goes to Brazil every couple of years, and so he speaks Portuguese.
Yeah.
But the Brazilian type.
It's a pretty picture here. This is Stella from Phillipsburg, Pennsylvania. She loves Grover. Well, Grover says thank you, Stella. Stella loves, and Grover loves Stella. From Brenda Clark. Grover. Pay attention, buddy. Pay attention.
He's still worried about Evergrande.
Mm-hmm. And his investments. So there's beautiful Stella. What would you say? That's not a husky. Is that a husky or a...
It looks like if I were to guess, I would say like a husky shepherd mix of some kind. I had an Australian shepherd husky mix that looked a bit like that.
Ollie from Pascagoula, Mississippi, from Lee Nicholas. This looks like my Grover underneath a blanket, chilling out. Is that a pit bull, you think?
It looks like a Staffordshire. It's good. I like the quilt too. So I'm a fan of quilts.
Are you a quilter? Are you Amish?
No. I did grow up around Amish, and I do not quilt. I tried one time, and it's just not for me.
I need to do a hobby like that, like whittling or something. Like I need to like find something calming, you know? Like I'll just sit there like a Deliverance with like a stick.
Yeah.
You know, and just like whittling and like watching people go by. Until
you have a piano.
Right. Or a sharp stick.
Yep. Whichever comes first.
Yeah. A piano or a sharp stick. Like, what are you whittling? Sticks. Sharp sticks in case I have to spear a fish. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Owner Judy King. This is Samson, a.k.a. Sambo, a.k.a. the Boogeyman. Both are Seal Point Siamese. Seal Point Siamese. Covering up his face. I can't see him. Judy King.
Whoa.
Adam Schneider. That's a pretty... It's like a tiger. Blocking the TV, I see.
I don't know that I've seen markings like that on a domestic house cat like that.
Yeah, what is that? Is it like a
it looks like a leopard.
Like an ocelot or something?
Yeah, like a bobcat.
A Bengal? Yeah, Bengal baby.
Oh, Bengal baby. Okay. I've never seen that. I guess I was not a good biologist.
Siamese cat named Poe.
My grandmother, when I was a kid, had two Siamese cats, Loco and Coco.
Can you tell them apart?
Yes, I could. I can't tell you how now though, because it's been a long time.
Very cute. 9-year-old male American Staffy and our new baby girl Marley, 2 months old. Pitt from Selenam. You can tell the baby. The stoic 9-year-old's like, get this little guy off of me. Cute. And that's it. That's it for the pet photos on this Friday. Remember, you can send in pet photos so we have them next Friday on the show. You can email them to us at pets@morninginvest.com or a pet-friendly show, Grover approved. Grover approved. And I think that's going to do it. Do we have any super chats or anything?
Let's see. We covered most of them. Julie Karen Schultz had put in $2 earlier saying your resolution is low, but we're going to have to work on that because I think something's going on with Restream, but we're not quite sure. Then Kate T covered that one that asked about how your son was doing. And then Randall Olaf's, I can't really pronounce the last name. I want to know how many people do you want to come here? 1 billion, which I guess is, if we have open borders, 1 billion people will come here. That was it.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think, you think that America is this like a beacon, but I guess when you have a country like Haiti that has no government and is totally destroyed, it's a different environment. You have a country like Afghanistan, where we've occupied them for 20 years and basically destroyed them. Like that's different, So yeah. I think we could handle a few thousand. By the way, do you know that the U.S. population is declining, which is no bueno, not good for governments. I'll tell you what happens in Italy. There's been other countries that have suffered from population declines.
Japan's a big one.
It's a big problem. Mm-hmm. And so what they're even doing is trying to give away land to people to come back. They're like, we'll give you a house, come move here, because it's bad. You don't have.
Was it Omaha? Several years back, that was like, hey, we'll basically buy you a house and give you a bunch of money if you're a professional and you move here.
I think it was Omaha. There were a couple of places like Kansas. Yep. Kansas was doing that in certain parts of Kansas. I was fascinated by that because I love real estate. I'm fascinated by that whole thing, and I was curious about this. And you had to live there. Mm-hmm. Make it your primary residence and live there. They would give you the house basically for free. And I think they would even give you money to renovate it also.
There was like a stipend or something that came with it. So yeah.
But the problem is, there was no jobs. It was like, so it's like, okay, I'm gonna move here, live here. You're gonna pay me to live in this little dinky house, and I'm gonna renovate it. But there's no job basis here. So,
because I think when I first read it and I was like kind of fantasizing about that, I was like, oh, could I just live in Omaha? Because I can live anywhere. I can do my job from anywhere. All I need is an internet connection. But it didn't apply to people in my situation. I believe you had to, and I don't remember exactly because it's been several years back, but I believe you had to like work at a place there. Like you couldn't just, like move there and just live and work without, if I remember correctly, but I don't remember.
Yeah, it was restrictive, but I know that the same thing has happened in Spain and in Italy, where they were giving away villas in Italy, in the interior in areas where you could move, and they'd give you these villas, but you had to live there as a primary residence as well. My mom just texted because she watches the show. Hi, Mom. My mom said, we can't get our hands on rapid tests here in Pennsylvania. Very difficult, and it's expensive. $35 to $40. What?
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
It's amazing to me the difference between the East Coast and the West Coast, because like we're talking at the beginning of the show, like I had pneumonia for 3 months. That cost me absolutely nothing, and because the Washington's Apple Care paid for that. My daughter's had free health care since
it's called Apple Care.
It's called Apple Care. It's a Washington thing.
Because I have Apple Care for my iPhone.
Not quite the same. My daughter has been on the Oregon Health Plan since she was born, so we've never had to pay for any doctor visits for my daughter, any dental, and so it's just amazing that like the difference between the West Coast and the East Coast, because like I went and got my daughter a rapid test. She was feeling a bit ill. It wasn't COVID because she had already been vaccinated at that point. But like we went and got the rapid test, everything like that cost nothing. They did both tests, and it didn't cost a dime.
Yeah, it's so random. Like different states, different, And so, what about in Missouri? Hey, Belinda, in Missouri. Oh, Badger Care in Wisconsin. Cher Marie says. Yeah. It's like in Pennsylvania, $30 to $40. Like I'm saying, here in Europe, you can go and get them for $1, €1. And you can, it's just a swab test, and you put it in the thing, and you shake it up, and you put it. It's almost like taking a pregnancy test. which I've always got those pregnancy tests around. You never know. I miss my cycle. I'm like, what's going on here?
That's when it's time for Blue Chew.
Mm-hmm. No, but that's how it works, and it's super easy. And plus they have the drive-through fast tests too. Like they have the like you drive up to a tent, and they just do the thing, and then you get a text message like a few minutes later. So it's crazy. But yeah, people are talking about Brazil. Brazil has a really high death rate right now. It's nearing 600,000, which is second only to the United States. I mean, the United States has been the worst in the world. Brazil is like second. So yeah. Kristen says, I've never done a pregnancy test up my nose. Yeah.
First time for everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't knock it till you try it, Kristen.
Some things I think it's okay to knock before you try, and that sounds like one of them.
Oh boy. All right. Well, I'm going to go get some rest this Friday. Going to continue to slog through. We've got a big announcement on the show coming, but I'm going to wait till the kids get back in school for another week. So next week we'll be kind of doing the same show here, but then we've got there's been a lot of boxes arriving here at the studio. So just to kind of give you an idea of like some big changes coming, I'm really excited about. I had intended, of course, to use the week of the show being in black because of YouTube blocking us for covering the truth. But then I got, deadly sick and couldn't do anything. So, and then the kids are home, and then it was just chaos. So we got a big announcement coming here on the show I'm really excited about. In about a week or so, we'll make that announcement. So in the meantime, we'll be back to normal shows next week. And make sure you're subscribed to our daily newsletter. We have a special report coming out this weekend in the newsletter, so you'll want to go and sign up for that. If you go to morninginvest.com, morninginvest.com.
There you go. Sorry, I hit the wrong button. They all start with Morning Invest.
Morninginvest.com. No worries. Here you go. Here's the website. If I pull it up slowly, internet. Come on, little buddy. Come on, little buddy. Come on, little buddy. There you go. Okay. So here is the, go to morninginvest.com. Just put in your email address right there. Boom. Subscribe. And you'll get our daily newsletter sent to you first thing in the morning, right to your iPhone, right to your Android device, whatever tablet you're reading. You'll get our daily newsletter. But we've got a special report newsletter this weekend that you do not want to miss. Saturday and Sunday. We've got to, we follow different companies that I'm investing in, things that I'm really proud of. And especially if you're in the plant-based space, you're going to be really interested this weekend as well. So go there to morninginvest.com and sign up for our daily newsletter. So our thanks to all of you who are subscribers. Thanks, everyone. Oh, that phone call from my wife means I got to go. Much love, everyone. We'll see you next time. Take care.
Bye.